significant portions of the Mueller report. In a joint statement, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer described 4 ways they believe Barr misled the public on the contents of the report. Even though the Attorney General concluded that Trump didn't obstruct justice, they say the Mueller report cites several instances that undercut that finding. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Hi everyone, it's Yanitza Munoz from the publications Maxim, FHM, and Sports Illustrated. So being a model, I have to work out a lot. It's tough staying in shape, especially keeping my abs. Until I discovered TC1 Gel. TC1 Gel is a thermogenic gel that you rub on your waist 15 minutes before exercising. Then simply put on the TC1 sweat belt and start your workout. You'll sweat like crazy and feel the burn. It focuses on boosting circulation, increasing perspiration. It activates body heat, reduces muscle fatigue, and burns off more calories. Get your TC1 Gel now. Go to tc1gel.com and use the code RADIO30 for 30% off discount on this amazing product. tc1gel.com and get your abs back or just get in shape. Follow their Instagram at tc1gel.
Hey guys, this is Andrew Caravella. Just wanted to let you know that KCAA has a new listener line for all of you that have a phone. Now you can listen to KCAA in the grocery store, in the doctor's office, or when you want to pretend you're on the phone with someone just so that creeper will leave you alone. Call 720-835-3099 today and listen to your favorite KCAA radio shows. That number again, 720-835-3099. KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no caller or listener behind.
Ontario Host Lions Club is hoping you'll come out to their 10th annual We Serve golf tournament. Check-in is 11 a.m. on Thursday, June 20th at Sierra Laverne Country Club. Ontario Lions supports 7 local charities and 8 area projects. Dean Munoz is the golf tournament chair. Give him a call at 909-481-1180. That's 909-481-1180. Come on out and golf at Sierra Laverne Country Club on June 20th to support the Ontario Host Lions. 909-481-1180.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Live from the NBC News Radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful, sunny California, which it is today. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone. I'm Rob Starr, along with Mr. Chris Davies, who is the ace of the industry in hydraulics.
All right, that's better than being the jack of the industry, so yeah.
So you can give me the $10 after the show.
That's right.
We'll be good. We have a great show tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I got some great guests. If you do want to call in, please do so. The numbers are toll-free 888-909-1050. And if you're local to us, 909-792-5222. And most people who have cell phones, it's unlimited calling, so you don't pay extra.
That's right. Give us a call, guys.
Yep. We will try to answer your questions. If we don't, we'll hang up on you. So no problem. We'll give you a call. Anyway, we want to welcome to our show the maven of California water news, Miss Chris Austin.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
We be fine. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
And
I'm doing great. I spent the day out in Oxnard at the Association of Water Agencies of Ventura County at a symposium that they had today. So that was a lot of fun. And, you know, it's really, what a wonderful day to be out in Oxnard. I actually went out there yesterday afternoon. Oh, the nice, mild temperatures, light breeze from the ocean. Very nice. Very nice.
God, that sounds awesome. Here in Redlands, when I pulled up to the stadium, it was 93 on the outside thermometer in my car.
Hey, and
I know.
And we have a special guest for you today.
So we did not have to turn on our air conditioners really until now. I think it was last year we had our air conditioners out here in Santa Clarita. We had them on in February.
Oh.
So nice. It's all the way April, right?
Yep. But we have a special fan who's online to say hi to you. You want to know who it is?
Sure.
She's so cautious. Who could it be? It's Miss Ingy Bisconer. Hi, Ingy.
Hello,
Hi,
Rob
Ingy.
and Chris.
Hi, Ingy.
Good to talk to you this evening. And yeah, Chris, this couldn't have been a better day in the world to be in Oxnard and be outside with nature and water and farms and cities and oceans and all that good stuff.
Oh, and aren't the mountains lovely?
Yes.
With their green and like there's still poppies out. It's beautiful.
There are a few. And
wonderful time of year.
Yep, and mustard plants all over the hills here in Southern California.
Absolutely. And today's going to be an Ag Show day. That's why Ingy's joined us, and she does the most incredible job as a host for that, and we do appreciate it. But we want to get to the news. We want the dirt today, and the big dirt I hear is that the I just went blank here. Imperial Irrigation District is suing a bunch of things about the California River Drought Plan.
Yeah, they're actually suing Metropolitan Water District, saying that they didn't do a CEQA analysis on the 7-state drought contingency plan. So therefore, they're asking the court for an injunction while Metropolitan goes out and does a EIR and all that. So, this would be a year at least or two. They're mad that the Salton Sea is not part of this agreement, and they're very concerned about the Salton Sea. And the Salton Sea, it's really quite a conundrum. The Salton Sea is a lake that happened they call it like a lake by mistake, right? They had a break in a levee along the Colorado River around the turn of the century, and it flooded. It directed all the flow of the Colorado River into that basin for 3-4 years while they tried to figure out how to get that break closed, so the Colorado River would flow down to the delta, to the Colorado River Delta, Sea of Cortez, and so it took them that long. And then after they had done that, there were all these gullies that went down to the Salton Sea, and the imperial farmers were like, well, hey, isn't this convenient? We need to drain our fields. We'll just drain it here. And so all that, so it was irrigation drainage that sustained the Salton Sea for all these years. I believe in 1923, they actually got the president of the state, I believe it was Wilson at the time, but don't quote me on that, the president of the United States signed an executive order or whatever that said that the Salton Sea could be the sump for the Imperial Irrigation District. And that's what it was. Wow. And, the soils in the Imperial Irrigation District is very salty, and the Colorado River is very salty, so they have to leach their fields a lot. And up until people really started coming down on them for water use, up to a third of the water delivered to the Imperial Irrigation District landed in the Salton Sea. Now, keep in mind, the Imperial Irrigation District is the largest user of Colorado River water. Las Vegas is just a sliver. Arizona's got their take. Utah wants to take more, but by far, more than any state, Imperial Irrigation District holds those water rights, and water rights, what we call perfective, very, very old water rights, first in line over everybody for time, immemorial, right? Yep. And a third of the water that they are getting over all those other people is landing in the Salton Sea. So all these other states on the Colorado River are saying, that's unacceptable, and you're not taking our water to save the Salton Sea, but you figure that out for yourself, but you cannot flush a third of your water into there. So Imperial Irrigation District has had to go through a lot of conservation and stuff, but without that irrigation water going into the Salton Sea, that's why the Salton Sea is drying up. And why is that a problem? Because birds that used to go to the Colorado River Delta, but the Colorado River never gets to the Sea of Cortez much anymore. they all go to the Salton Sea, and it's the only place they have left. And we're talking, you go down there in January and February, and the bird life is amazing. It's beautiful. I mean, but that water now is shrinking. And then also with that shrinking water, now you have the dry lake bed that's exposed, and it's windy down there. So now that, that kicks up dust.
Doesn't smell good down there either.
Problem. Yeah, the highest rates of asthma in the state are down in the Imperial Valley.
When I first moved to California, there was a lot of fishing down there. And Chris fishes, right? You're an outdoor guy. Was it Corvina or Corbina?
Corvina.
And that was really actually a good fish.
Yeah, it was full. If you watch the old shows like Huell Hauser and that kind of stuff, I mean, they were water skiing on that lake, and there were resorts down there. It was a place to go in the 40s and 50s.
Oh, it was like the poor man Palm Springs. Yeah. That's where if you're rich, you go to Palm Springs. If you're not, you're the middle man, middle income guy. You went to Salton Sea. And what's interesting is at the time, the Fish and Game Commission said, well, hey, let's make a fishery out of the Salton Sea. So they actually went down to like the Sea of Cortez with a big old net, swung it around there, gathered up what they could, and went back and stuck it in the Salton Sea and saw what survived. And they did that a couple times. So that's how, and some things did really, really well and some things did not. But what really took hold are pile worms. And pile worms are all over the Salton Sea, which is what the birds are there for. The birds, the shore birds, pick out the pile worms. But the Salton Sea is completely manufactured. It's like it was artificially maintained. The fishery was hauled there in nets from, the Sea of Cortez, dumped in there in the 50s. Hey, what do we got? And they had speedboats and water skiing. There's pictures of Santa Claus on water skis. This was in the 50s. It was great until things started catching up and they got this really massive fish kill.
How excuse me. How does that compare to Lake Elsinore?
I've heard that there are some similarities there, but I'm not really familiar with the Lake Elsinore story. But I know that people at the Salton Sea were kind of saying that that's a model. Look what they did with Lake Elsinore. They cleaned it up. But I think, the problem with the Salton Sea is that there's I don't know how many million acres, 1 million, or maybe 500,000 acres of farmland that's draining salts and crabs into the Salton Sea. And there's just no way around that. That's a problem. The New River, the most polluted river in California, flows across the border and down in the Salton Sea. And that adds in there. I mean, all the water that goes there really shouldn't be going there. It shouldn't really be as dirty as it is, but it is. I mean, it is a huge conundrum. Huge. I don't even know what to say. I look at it and shake my head. I mean, the birds. It's if you take that water away from the birds, the migrating birds, I don't know where you can replace that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it'd be a disaster because they don't have, the Mexico Delta, the Baja Delta anymore. So that's where they've all gone.
There would be no stopover there. I mean, that could be just catastrophic. But on the other hand, we also, society is saying to, the people in the Imperial Irrigation District that you can't just flush out your fields into the Salton Sea anymore. So that water is needed in other places. I mean, that's unreasonable, wasteful use, so do we kind of thing that they bring up.
Do we have to create a sanctuary city for the birds now?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's a conundrum. And as it dries up, then you're going to get the dust storms of this really, a lot of chemicals in this. Right. And blowing into, an area that already has problems with asthma. And it's not the richest county, the richest population. It's, So it's a problem. It's a real conundrum. I don't know how it's going to play out. I guess we'll see. The Imperial Irrigation District and the people around there are really trying to fight to get people to do something about this, but it's hard. It is expensive. At one time, they proposed the plan for the Salton Sea. It was if they wanted as much as they wanted for the Delta to do the tunnels. At 11 million, when the tunnels were only 11 million, until they jumped to 16 or billion. I'm sorry, and they wanted 11 billion for the Salton Sea, and we couldn't even get 11 billion to fix the Delta, and we really, a lot of people are in touch with the Delta, but not so many people with the Salton Sea. Although they've been really trying to get the message out, but it's a problem.
So Chris, let me go back and ask the question around the lawsuit itself, because we know the IID, the Imperial Irrigation District, is suing to block the drought plan, the Colorado River drought plan. What exactly is the lawsuit after claiming?
Well, they're saying that Metropolitan did not do the necessary environmental analysis. Under CEQA, any public agency, we're talking California CEQA, any agency, state agency, or local agency planning a project must do an environmental analysis. Now, the Bureau, they said this earlier, and the Bureau of Reclamation said, no, there's no environmental analysis required. This is a federal regulatory action, not required.
Oh, right.
But now, the Imperial Irrigation District, they held out because of the Salton Sea, because they want the Salton Sea to be addressed. The state said that they would address the Salton Sea. That was why they were able to sign these agreements back, in 2008, or can't remember when it was. This big agreement that went down there, that they had to be more efficient with their use. So, there's just a lot of history here.
Right. So Imperial Irrigation kind of the district then kind of felt left out, right? And they didn't get enough money in the. That's why they're suing, because they thought that the Salton Sea, the restoration plan, just didn't get funded enough.
Well, I think it's because that the drought contingency plan didn't address the Salton Sea really at all.
Oh.
And I think they're trying to get action from the state, but I think they also think it's a bit of a federal issue too, when you're talking about birds and our treaties to maintain habitat for birds and stuff. And they're very concerned because this is going to be a public health problem. The problem is the Colorado River is there's just sort of less of it to go around now. So how they're going to be able to sustain those flows into the Salton Sea, which needs flows. It needs artificial flows because it doesn't really, nothing really flows into it. I mean, there's nothing
except
about
runoff.
Easy. Way back in ancient times, the Colorado River sort of alternated between the Imperial Valley and the Sea of Cortez, depending on how the silt, it's a very silty river, landed. However, the way that everything is configured now, the Colorado River, is supposed to flow out to the Delta, and there's no natural flow into the Salton Sea.
Right.
So how are you going to sustain that? I don't know.
All right, Rob, well, I think we need to stop for our first break and cue it up. So stay on the air with us, folks. We'll be back in just a minute or two, and we'll continue with our guests.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
If you knew there was a pipe cement that works better than the one you're currently using, is better for you and the environment, and costs the same or less, would you buy it? Oh, no-brainer, right? Weldon, the trusted leader in solvent cements for over 60 years, is pleased to introduce a new line of solvent cements that does all that. Introducing the Eco Series line of solvent cements for PVC piping systems. Not only does it work great and set fast, it also has 30% lower solvent emissions and less smelly fumes, a better workplace environment when you're installing pipes. But don't just take our word for it. Eco Series products are the only solvent cements that are Green Seal certified for environmental innovation for effective performance, improved working conditions, and for use with potable water. Now available in a medium-bodied fast-setting blue formula, 905 Eco, and a regular-bodied fast-setting clear formula, 900 Eco. Pick up a can today from your local distributor and see, smell, and feel the difference, just like Joe Sweat, president of Sunrise Irrigation, did. He said, after using Weldon's 905 Eco, we immediately noticed the application was smooth and there was noticeably less odor than other blue solvent cements on the market. The guys love it. To learn more about Eco Solvent Cements from Weldon, visit the website at www.weldon.com or call the Technical Service Hotline at 877-477-8327. That's 877-477-8327.
Time to take a water break and talk some water. Irrigation. Such a refreshing topic. As more and more markets face water restrictions, your customers may be hungry, or should I say thirsty, for water-saving products. For new installations, add options like drip irrigation, controllers that respond to weather data, pressure-regulating heads, or heads with check valves. They all provide easy ways to differentiate your bids and win more jobs. Or for an extra stream of revenue, offer existing customers upgrades like high-efficiency nozzles, rotary nozzles, or Wi-Fi-based controllers. Because when you help your customers save water, you make a world of difference for the earth and your bottom line at the same time. We'll drink to that.
Oh, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone with Mike, Rob, and Miss Ingy and
Mike.
Did I say Mike?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't say Mike. I'm sorry. I apologize. Well, Mike worked the show for a long time. And you know, he called in last week.
Old habits die hard. Yeah.
Old habits die hard. He's great. And we got Chris Chris Austin. And I see I'm all screwed up now. Hey, Chris, one last thing. I know my buddy Chris over here likes seafood, so do I. And right?
Yep,
Don't
seafood
you?
need it.
That's right. So tell us about what's happening. We hear that the salmon runs now are incredible.
Yeah, in some streams, they on the McCollum, they've had like enormous salmon returns. They've been focusing on habitat restoration, but it looks like the salmon returns all over are forecasted to be fairly good this year. So there's going to be some salmon fishery. They're going to open up some recreational fishing as well as the commercial fishing. So.
I hope the prices go down.
Yeah. Well, I saw being an avid fisherman and looking at the charts. They're looking at opening the salmon season May 16th. So that's a full month earlier than it has been in the past several years, and expecting the season to extend through late September. So that's great.
So do you think the price will go down?
No, I don't.
Oh. I was telling Chris here, I went to a charity thing for Children's Hospital in Orange County. They opened a new Bristol Farms. Anybody hear of Bristol Farms?
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of them.
And they opened this one up in Yorba Linda, and they gave the money to CHOC, Children's Hospital of Orange County. But I went in, and the stuff was gorgeous food. I mean, the produce, the beef, all the meats, all the fish. They had tuna for $49 a pound. I don't know where it came from. Whatever. It looked nice, but $49 a pound.
That should be sashimi grade for that kind of,
I would assume so. Well, anyway, anybody who wants to learn more about what's happening in California with the water news, you got to go to mavensnotebook.com. It's the best place in California to get news. All the water agencies kind of call her up and say, "Hey, what's going on? What do you know?" And she gives them the dirt. But anyway, if you want to do that, go to mavensnotebook.com. If you want to become a subscriber to her blog, please do that. And you can do all kinds of things with that. So, again, mavensnotebook.com. And, Chris, we really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for your valued input again. Once again, Chris, have a great Easter weekend.
Oh, yes, you too. It's going to be a great one.
Absolutely. All right, we'll talk to you later. All right, we have another guest on. I'm going to actually turn it over to Miss Ingy Biscona because this is really her show, and we don't want to. You got to speak up a little bit more, Ingy, because you can contribute. You're the big lady on the show, so you got to handle us. So it's all yours.
Thank you so much. I have a fantastic guest tonight, Mr. Kurt Maloney. Welcome to the show, Kurt.
Well, thank you, Ingy.
It's good to have you. Kurt and I have known each other for quite a number of years, another irrigation industry veteran. For those who don't know him, let me introduce Kurt to him, to our listening audience. And Kurt, I didn't know this, but you hail from Wisconsin and attended the Kenosha Technical Institute for Hydraulic and Pneumatical Engineering. That's where you get this irrigation engineering in your blood. Apparently,
I was a cheesehead.
A cheesehead, I love it.
Do you have the hat, Kurt?
And then he moved over to Colorado and got into business. So I suppose that's what led you to the Toro company initially, where you worked on product management in the center pivot irrigation industry, and then for Toro in the R&D department. You've held a number of different titles. Ag marketing manager, international marketing manager, domestic residential marketing manager, a lot of marketing in there. And then later in your career, where I met you, was at Netafim, and you developed a whole new category in the landscape industry called dripper line, and I very vividly remember that. You created all the training materials and educational programs to teach distributors, landscape designers, and contractors how to use drip irrigation to save water and simplify installation. So today you are partnering with Jim Anschutz and Tim Young at Ag H2O in Fresno, and Jim has also been a guest of ours a couple of times here at the Water Zone. And you're still involved in ag training and education and market analysis, offering services to the irrigation industry as well as to farmers, which is really great. And over the last 6 years, you've served on the Blue Tech Valley TIE Committee and you're a volunteer with the California Energy Commission Technical Advisory Committee. But what's really important is that you're a bread baker, and I want to get into some of that bread.
Yeah, how come did you make some good, fresh, hot artisan bread? I love that with some nice unsalted butter. I love that stuff.
Oh, it's the best. It is the best. And you enjoy traveling and photography. So, Kurt, tell our listening audience, how in the world did you get involved in the irrigation industry? And then tell us a little more about how broad it is. We often talk about it just in terms of landscape and agriculture, but, especially with some of your past experience, you were very much involved with irrigation in the wastewater industry and the mining industry and the golf industry as well. So give us your take on that as well.
Well, thank you, Ingy. As you introduced everybody to me, I did start out in the hydraulic and pneumatic industry, and I went to work for a company in Rockford, Illinois called Sunstrand, where I was helping to build numerically controlled machine tools. And after 3 years there, I decided that the machine tool industry wasn't where I wanted to be, and it was because of my hydraulics I ended up there. I decided to go back to school and went to the University of Colorado for business. When I graduated from Colorado, it was in the early 70s. Not a time to be looking for a job, and I ended up going to a small ag distributorship in Denver, Colorado, on an interview, and the guy I worked for was going to go to work for. handed me a valve, a water valve, and he says, "How does this thing operate?" And I looked at it and I said, "Well, it's a solenoid valve," and I described it to him. And he said, "You're the 65th person I've interviewed. You got the job because you know how the valve works."
I love it.
I knew nothing about irrigation at that point, but I became hooked, and I became hooked pretty quickly. It was my engineering background that intrigued me about the hydraulics of irrigation, how to move water around efficiently. And the next level is then, how do you distribute that water? How do you put it on the ground evenly? Where does it need to go? And so that was 47 years ago. And along the way, I met people like Jack Keller from University of Utah, learned a lot from that man, went to a lot of seminars, read a lot of books, did a lot of things. I ended up in the irrigation industry kind of coming in through the back door, but it's a great industry. It was very good to me, and it really, really helped fulfill my life.
Yeah, well, you've made, a huge contribution to the industry in those 47 years. You come a long way from not knowing anything about, irrigation and agriculture and landscaping to where you are today. You've been kind of a history buff. You were on the Irrigation Association's history committee for many years, and I am a little bit too. And I'd like you, please, to walk us through how irrigation plays in, just the history of civilization. I mean, in human technology. Our civilization is basically where it is today because we figured out how to grow food. We figured out how to do agriculture. So agriculture and of course irrigation are closely tied. So tell us a little bit about, when did this all start and how did it evolve? What are the different, technologies?
Well, irrigation is over 5,000 years old, and an awful lot of the early stuff was done in and around Egypt, in parts of Africa, and places like that. That's really where irrigation started to develop. At the same time, you ended up with the Incas and those tribes in South America, same kinds of need that they have. As you develop a community, you have to feed that community, and if you happen to live in an area that's deficient in rainfall to grow food, you figure out how to route water to growing those crops. In the United States, the earliest that we know when irrigation systems, and they were canal systems, were developed, was 800, 1,200 years ago, and most of that was done down in the Arizona area. And again, it's the same kind of issue. You have a climate that doesn't provide water or nutrients to a plant at certain times of the year. You figure out how to get water to those plants. So it's long been the need to grow food, how irrigation and the technology of irrigation developed. The interesting thing is there's been offshoots of growing food that has made irrigation an important component of society. A couple of things I'll mention. And I'd like to come back to landscape and golf business. They happen to be an old passion of mine, but the mining industry now uses an awful lot of irrigation techniques. Now, most of that work is done down in Arizona, where they take copper ore, low-grade copper ore. They pulverize that ore, build mounds of the ore, and they put dripper line with water and sulfuric acid over the top of that mound. So water trickles down through the thing. They capture the water at the other at the bottom, and they recover copper in the form of a liquid, and through electrolysis, mine a couple tons of copper a day out of these copper fields that are just absolutely huge.
So is it drip that operates? So it's a talus slope essentially, right? Where they put all these tailings on there, and they just run the sulfuric acid. Do they spray it on with a big sprinkler, or is it done through drip system?
It's done through drip systems primarily. There are some other mines that have used sprinkle and that kind of stuff, but predominantly in the copper industry, it happens to be drip. You can also mine silver and gold in the same way with different chemicals, and it's all taking tailings, dripping water down through those tailings, capturing the water, and through chemical or electrolysis process.
Yeah, leaches out
the heavy metal.
Right, leaches out the heavy metal in the tailings, and you collect it at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's the same equipment basically that we use for growing food and in our landscapes, but I guess there's been some minor modifications in it to make it resistant to sulfuric acid or especially in wastewater. Tell us how the products have been a little differentiated to handle those new markets.
Well, wastewater is another pretty interesting offshoot of irrigation, and you find it an awful lot on homes, in communities, small communities, where they capture the waste, send it through process, and so at second stage water, we drip it on the ground and get rid of the water that way.
Kind of the land, I think they call it land application of wastewater. So you're disseminating wastewater on the land via drip rather than sprinkler, because sprinkler's up in the air, and that's not so good if it is kind of stinky and it affects the community around them. So drip is really a great technology for that as well, huh?
Yeah.
And then even in golf, how are we using drip in golf?
Well, in the golf industry, one of the things when you maintain a golf course, there's two places on a golf course you don't want to make a golfer mad. The first is on the green, and that's because they waste more strokes on the green than any part of the course. But the second place is in sand traps. Well, one of the problems that you have is how do you water the grass next to the sand trap without getting the sand trap wet? And what's being done now is they build rings of dripper line buried underneath the turf grass to keep that grass green, and they don't have to overhead sprinkler irrigate that area then.
Yeah.
Pretty popular. The other thing that's being done in climates, particularly on the East Coast or down through Arizona, where you have electronic controllers out in on the golf course, you need to ground them very well so they don't suffer from lightning strikes and those kinds of things. And they build little drip fields to help the grounding rods make good contact with the earth, and it helps protect the electronic controllers from being zapped.
So we're drip irrigating the grounding rod?
Yeah.
They do that a lot in ham radio stuff. Because
I did not.
Because
I did not know that.
Yeah,
we can add another category to the list: ag, landscape, golf, mining, wastewater, and grounding rods.
Yeah. In ham radio, one of that's not a requirement, but everybody has to worry about getting shocked on their microphones when touching it if it isn't properly grounded, and that's the best way to keep your ground rod really to an earth connection.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Kurt, I always, we think of irrigation from 5,000 years ago and the Incas and so forth, and it's all pretty much gravity fed from the mountains and through their intricately carved out stonework. I've been there, and it's amazing what they did, pre-computer age humans. So when did it change from this gravity flood irrigation to these more modern technologies, these pressurized irrigation technologies, the pumps and the sprinklers and the drip irrigation? When did all that happen?
Well, it was the late 1800s when you started to have the availability of electricity that could operate pumps, that they started to distribute sprinklers, through the air. And
yep.
But when it really became popular here in the U.S. was in the early 30s, when Rainbird, which is a company there in Glendora, started to sell impact sprinklers. They were the first ones to sell those knocker sprinklers, the
yep.
noises you hear in the morning and that kind of stuff. They started building sprinklers to water lemon groves over there, and the first big sale that they made was 6 sprinklers that was sold to the Los Angeles Country Club because they wanted to keep their grass greener. And from that, Rainbird started, and then by the mid-40s, the proliferation of agriculture in California, they started selling impact sprinklers to grow cotton and vegetables and those kinds of things.
Yep.
By the 50s, we started to see development out in the plains where, in Nebraska, Kansas, where you have undulating ground. Someone came up with a product called center pivots, and I think everybody knows what a center pivot is, especially when you fly over America, those round circles that are a half mile in diameter. And in the United States, there's 150 or 160,000 center pivots now. That really started in the Colorado-Nebraska area, where they had to figure out a way to irrigate undulating ground, and pressurized sprinklers help distribute the water. So that was really the most prolific increase in sprinkler irrigation. In fact, it's still predominantly in the United States the greatest form of irrigation. There's somewhere around 20 million acres just in Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado area that's irrigated with center pivots. Then, Inge, you and I both know that by the early 60s, drip irrigation was developed in Israel by an engineer whose name was Simba Blast. And Simba Blast was a hydraulic engineer in Israel, and in his backyard there were 6 olive trees, and the olive trees were flood irrigated by digging a little canal, and he had little hose bib where he would turn the water on and fill the canals up every once in a while. And after a while, he noticed that one tree was a lot bigger than the other 5, and that was the tree that was located right next to the hose bib that had a drip It went
there was
drip.
There was a leak. Yeah.
Drip, and he said there must be something to this, and so that's where drip irrigation started. That was late 50s, early 60s.
Can we take? We're going to take a short break for our sponsor here. We'll be right back, and Kurt, you stick around because we love what you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll talk about the future. We've been talking about the history of irrigation, and now we'll be talking about the future. Thank you, Kurt.
Oh, and Kurt, did you know a guy named what's his name? I forgot. His name is Chris. Try to remember his last name. Chris Davey.
I know Chris Davey.
Well,
yeah.
Chris is the co-host with me right here.
How are you, Kurt?
I was pulling at his leg.
How you doing, Kurt? This is Chris Dave. How are you?
How are you?
All right. How about you? Didn't know if
Very
you knew I
good.
was here.
I'm sorry?
I didn't know you knew I was I was on air with you.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
A little bit of surprise. Anyway,
Break
we're
for
gonna
a
take
commercial,
break,
yeah.
and we'll be right back.
Are you presently part of the irrigation industry as a worker or business owner? Do you want to learn how you and your staff can boost your knowledge and productivity? Then you should check out Irrigator Technical Training School. Irrigator Tech is the leading source of quality instruction serving all facets of the irrigation industry. Their courses provide a basic, easy-to-understand approach that raises the skill level, competency, and professionalism of landscape and irrigation personnel through practical education and services. Irrigator Tech combines classroom and real-life hands-on training, leading to a well-recognized certification that both customers and employers demand. Irrigator Tech's specialized courses can help you quickly become a certified irrigation auditor or a certified installer, repair, maintenance, or backflow technician. Courses also include certificates in smart water application or becoming a certified tree worker. Most importantly, all certifications are state recognized, and Irrigator Tech offers annual renewal classes to help keep your certification up to date. So whether you work in California, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, or Arizona, there's an Irrigator Tech class near you. For more information on how to jumpstart your career, call Irrigator Tech toll-free 866-614-1755 or visit them on the web at irrigatortech.com. That's toll-free 866-614-1755 and on the web at irrigatortech.com.
Okay, we're back with Ingy and our wonderful guest, Carl. Chris has a. I was going to finish my sentence, but
yeah, go ahead.
He's poking me.
No,
he's poking me in
go
the
ahead.
arm. If you're watching on TV, he's going like this to me.
I just bumped my mic on, so I did.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, talk about odd applications for irrigation equipment. I was recently in Germany at a new product, a new company that Toro has just purchased, and I was in Stuttgart. I was at an application there. They are using drip irrigation strewn out among the green spaces between the runways to distribute diluted propylene glycol, which they use as
For
the
ice
de-icing.
de-icing.
Yeah, the de-icing.
The
So
de-icing.
yeah, so they dilute it, put it in a tank, and then they distribute it on the grass in between the runways. It was fascinating to see.
Land application of de-icing fluid at the airport. Another industry we didn't know about.
There you go.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Chris. So, keeping with our theme of the history and future of irrigation, Kurt, tell us a little about what would you change about the irrigation industry? I mean, you've been in it 47 years, and you like the commercial says, you've seen a lot because anyway, I can't remember the commercial, but anyway, you've seen a lot of stuff. So
we can replay it.
What
kidding.
would you change? What would you change, Kurt, if you could, about the industry?
The real issue that we've had with irrigation is we have never put enough value into water as a resource, and we are now the whole world is using water at an incredible rate, and we're fast getting to the point where we aren't going to have enough resources to take care of people, and that's really tough. It's been frustrating to me for a long time why people aren't more aware of what water is, what it does, and how to best use it. And in our industry, irrigation, one of the things that we've never done a good job is to correlate the minutes on an irrigation controller with how much water is being applied to a lawn. And the problem here is that when a contractor installs a system, he'll set every station time at 10 minutes. And the homeowner will come along and say, well, my grass is browner than I want it to be, so if it's 10 minutes, I'm going to turn it to 20 or 30 minutes. Well, 15 minutes might have been the solution, but now we continue to use way too much water, and all we know is, well, my grass is green, so I must be using the right amount of water.
Yeah.
So the industry's never done a good job teaching people how to water correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of really great equipment, but it's the human factor that is still a big challenge.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, where do you think it's going? I've heard some people say that the only way we're ever going to really irrigate efficiently is if we take the human out of it. Where do you think it's going?
Well, Kurt, do you think that that smart connect in the future, smart connected products will help drive sustainability?
I think there's right now there are a lot of controllers on the market that are smart controllers, and what it means to be a smart controller is they kind of look at the temperature, maybe solar radiation, and a few other things, and predict how much water is going to be needed in the near future. I think that's an improvement. The fallacy with that is once you set up an irrigation controller, if you don't set it up correctly to begin with, the controller is always going to be over applying water.
Usually, when would you say that? I didn't mean to interrupt, but just to clarify. So the way I would view it, and I just want your opinion, is when you have a smart controller that does the solar radiation, the temperature, the rain, and such, that sort of tells you when you need to water, and then if you have some soil moisture sensors, that tells you how much to water. So you have a closed feedback loop to that.
Yeah, I think the secret to our industry is going to be soil sensing. And soil sensing is starting to get to the point where they're inexpensive enough that you can have an adequate number around a yard to measure a lot of different points in the yard or golf course or wherever. And I think that the more we can do with machine intelligence to get the human factor out of this, the better off we're going to be.
So you do agree with that we really, the human is not really involved in our thermostats either. We set it at whatever for our homes, and the machine just makes it happen to be at the right temperature. And we don't really fiddle with it and estimate, how many BTUs are we using to get this 68 degrees in our home. So you think the same will happen with irrigation, that some other technology is going to be able to sense what we want and then make it happen rather than us figuring out what we need and making it happen.
I think the development of sensors throughout our lives are going to help us use things a lot more efficiently. You're absolutely right, Ingy. Keeping a house at the right temperature, how many BTUs does that take? How many watts of energy does that take? Am I using too many watts? Am I using too many BTUs? Water.
Yeah, we don't talk about that over the dinner table all that much, do we? Yeah, it's not part of our conversation. It doesn't have to be because it's not necessary because there's a gadget that does it for us, right?
I've been complaining about how much gas costs lately.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. So, Kurt, anything else that you'd like to add? Any insights? And, your activities with the Irrigation Association's History Committee. I think you published a book, so maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Well, no, we didn't publish a book, but we do have a museum space that happens to be at Fresno State, because the collection of equipment that we've made through the year needed to be put on display, and at the Water, Energy, and Technology Center on Fresno State, there's about 60 feet of glass case that we display all of the old products and the development of irrigation along the timeline that we've been on.
Kurt, do you have pictures of those things? And the reason, do you have pictures of those? And the reason I'm asking, Chris and I were just talking a little while ago, we'd love to do a show on all those old things, and we broadcast in video as well. So I think it would be great for our audience if we could get pictures of that and have you go through and describe what those are. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, the next time I'm in Fresno, I'll open the cases up and I'll take some pictures, also do a little video for you guys, and then maybe we can talk about next steps.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by those kind of things.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I was telling Rob, I've actually seen that case. We were up there at CIT doing some testing, and I actually went to see it. So it's fascinating.
It's right outside my office, if you can imagine.
Did not know that.
Kurt, I see another Water Zone show in your future, coming soon to an audience near you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Well, Kurt, go ahead.
Kurt, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for what you have contributed to the industry. It's been an illustrious career, and this show will be on iTunes within a couple of weeks as well. If anybody would like to listen to it again or tell their friends if they missed it.
Yep.
So until next week.
Great. Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Ingy, and I look forward to doing this again.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, good night. People have a great week, and remember what we always tell you, the most important thing you got to do this week is
think blue. Good night, everybody.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5